again, everybody. It's Kevin Knessa coming to you from the newsroom of The Observer and TheObserver.com on this, the 23rd day of January in the year 2024. I keep saying 23, Tony. I don't know. The first month after the new year, I never get the year right. So last week I was watching our video together and I said 23 like 4 times. It's just one of those habits to break. So as we do each and every week, we bring you this week's news, and Tony Mondero is here to look back at last week and the forecast ahead. Tony, good afternoon.
Kevin, don't feel bad. I'm still on daylight savings time.
Right. By the way, we're going to be going back to standard time, and it's going to be here before we blink. It's only a couple of weeks away, really, right? First week
back
in March.
To daylight savings again. We're in standard time now, and we had 24. And I'll tell you, January thaw as we thought coming this week. Last time we were going to see 32 degrees this morning. That was the morning low this morning. And looking back to Friday, Kev, what a mess. Those who follow the weather, you look up in the sky, and just before we got on the air, we were saying, when you see that sun dimly visible and you're forecasting, 1 to 3 inches of snow, forget about it. And what happened, folks, was simply dry air overcame the system, and the heavier snow band did set up just to our south. So that's what wound up happening. Places like central New Jersey, Toms River area, got a few inches of snow out of it. Some places down south central New Jersey got 6 inches of snow on Friday. So I don't know, right church, wrong pew maybe for this one. But hey, we own up to it. It was not a good forecast. We try to do better the next time. Like we said, we're not going to be perfect. At least it snowed. I can remember some years ago when I was back in high school, you forecasting the weather, and you didn't even have snow. It was sunny the day you forecasted snow, so at least it snowed out, And it wasn't that bad, and people got to go home okay. And they made the right call as far as schools and stuff like that, because you really don't know until that weather situation is developing. But next couple of days, not bad. It's going to be unsettled. Chance of some rain showers. No massive floods or anything like that. Just pain in the neck rain showers right through Friday. It's a nice day on Saturday. Mix of sun and clouds. Temperatures for during the day will be in the 40s. Overnight low temperatures around 40 degrees. And on Saturday, like we were saying just before we came on the air, we may see 60 degrees on Saturday if we get enough of sunshine. And then the extended forecast for next week, Kev, we get back into some colder air. There's a couple of storm threats that we're going to have to watch. But no major winter storms are on the horizon for right now, given it Tuesday. So we'll be watching that very closely. I see your Devils did well last night with a 6-5 overtime win, so you must be a happy camper. And I hear it's a very busy news day for you.
Well, I tell you what, I was not very pleased with the game because they went up 3-1, then they were down 5-3, then they tied it, won in overtime. This team has no consistency whatsoever. And he got the win, but I don't trust the goalie Vitek Vanacek for anything. I just don't. He's been very, very unsturdy all year long, and that was another example of it last night. But a win is a win, so I'm going to take it at this point. You're absolutely right.
Another thing you may or may not know, I'm a big college basketball guy, so I'm a big Seton Hall Pirates fan, and
right.
They went to triple overtime on Saturday. Did lose to a very strong Creighton, but proud of my guys there at Seton Hall Pirates, doing very well this year. I don't know why they're not nationally ranked, but that's okay. We're doing very good in the East.
How is Shaheen Holloway doing with the boys over there? Because I remember he was so big with that run with St. Peter's a couple of years ago. Is he doing all right at the Hall?
Holloway's coming within his own, doing very good, and it's very exciting there to watch a game at the Prudential Center. I love the whole atmosphere of it. I usually go a little bit early, so when you come up the escalator, you got the cheerleaders greeting you there. Last Saturday before the game, the pep band, which I'm a big band supporter. All of even our local bands, our high school bands, I love to go watch them play. Kearney, Harrison, North Arlington High, Lyndhurst High, very good bands there. And, watch that and then watch the game. And then usually about 10 minutes to go in the second half, I'm gone because I don't want to be crushed by the load of people coming out. So, I'm a big sports guy too. And when we get into the season, I'm a big Mets fan as well.
Oh.
I'm a big New York Mets guy. Doesn't look good for us, I don't think, this season. We'll see. So, one thing of being a Mets fan, it's a good character builder.
That's what it really does. And Lisa's in the other room. She probably accusing us of cursing because anytime we bring up the Mets, she says it's a curse because
Oh boy.
she's a very very snooty Yankees fan, like all of them are, And of course, so I mean, what can we do? We're just the outcasts of society in Yankee fans' lives. Let me ask you a question though about Seton Hall,
Sure.
really quick, if I could too,
Yeah.
since we're on this. What are the crowds like for games? The Devils have sold out almost every game this year, which is a rarity in and of itself. Are the crowds decent at the Prudential Center for Seton Hall games?
Yeah, they sure are. I have been to the Yukon game and now Creighton this last Saturday. These Saturday afternoon games have drawn very, very well. The whole lower bowl was filled. It was a near sellout on Saturday, and Yukon was a sellout. A little lesser games, you get a little lesser crowd, but it's a nice atmosphere. So if anybody it's not a bad ticket. It's not very expensive to go watch an afternoon of college basketball. I highly recommend it. It's a very, very great. It's a very good experience. But still, the snack shop is a little high. You got to practically mortgage your house for a pretzel and a soda.
Does Dick Cody still go to the games too? I remember he used to be.
I haven't seen the governor now for a while. There, he used to sit right near me, and very nice guy, very approachable. Dick Cody. It was always great to see him at the games there. He may be sitting in a different section now where I don't see him. He might be closer to the court. But when he was I believe section 19 or so there, we used to see him all the time there. He had an aisle seat. And like you're very approachable. If you say, "Hey, Governor, how are you?" or whatever, he answered you. He was a very nice guy.
You were talking about the crowds and the lower bowl being filled. Do they tarp off the upper tier during the games?
Yes.
Or, yeah, they do. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, back in the PJ days, when me and my brother Charlie went there, we were in the poor man seats because we were only in high school. We were sitting all the way up on top there, and that was in the Continental Airlines Arena. Now here at the Prudential Center, it's just the lower bowl. And I'm sure some of these bigger games they could probably sell upstairs.
Oh, I bet. I would think too, especially if they go on a tournament run. Well, those games are neutral sites anyway. But still, later on in the season, you might see even bigger crowds, right? At this point, or
absolutely. Well, yeah, we got Providence tomorrow night at 6:30 is the tip, and most of those games are carried on FS1. So if anybody's interested, Fox Sports 1 usually carries the Seton Hall games. And not a bad night either if you want to take a ride up to the university. You see the women. The women are playing well. They beat St. John's last night, the Seton Hall University women's team. And they're not a bad season. I think in the conference they're 4-4. But I think overall, they're like 12 and 7, or 12-6. But Tony should keep it to the weather, not sports, unless it comes to my Mets. I'm a little bit.
Yeah, but we're on a roll now. Yeah, listen, I don't think the Mets are going to be as bad as everybody thinks they are. There's been some pretty solid, quiet moves in the offseason. People on WFAN are killing the new general manager. And I'm not ready to do that just yet. I want to give the guy some time to do what he's got to do, try to figure it out. But I don't know if they're going to be as bad as everybody seems to think they're going to be. Do you? Do you really think they're going to be this bad?
Kevin, I asked my doctor for a second blood pressure pill from opening day going forward, so I'm all set.
If you're just joining us, Tony Mondero of the Harrison Weather Center is here with us. And you'd mentioned the possibility of 60 degrees on Saturday. And I've asked you this question before, but for anybody who may be joining us for the first time, it's January. We'll still be in January over the weekend. How does it come to pass that 60-degree air gets into the atmosphere in the first month of the year? Can you kind of explain that a little bit while we're together?
Yeah, absolutely, Kev. Now, that made the cold air. Remember, the high pressure had to come down straight from Canada, the Arctic high, sailed over the area. Now, the high pressure has to go somewhere, going out east, offshore. We're getting a return flow. The return flow bringing warmer air in, so that'll give us our warm stretch for the next couple of days before the next front comes through, and we repeat the cycle. So a little bit of a January thaw. What I like being a weather observer, it clears now that all the snow will be melted, and we can get ready for the next one. Remember, folks, there's a lot of winter left. February can be a very snowy month. March, half of March will be very snowy. And even after light months where we haven't had much snow at all, remember April 6th of 1982, where we had 12 inches of snow with a very low winter for snowfall. So us in the weather department are kept busy to about the third week of April, and then we can finally breathe that sigh of relief where winter's behind us. So, still a lot of work to do with the weather center. So let's enjoy this little warm up that we have.
Absolutely. And speaking of the Harrison Weather Center, it looks like you have a different background. Tell everybody where you are today.
I'm working at my favorite workplace, the Borough of North Arlington, as the EMS chief. Got a lot of office stuff to do today, so I wanted to try out this just in case we ever have to use the backup little studio here at the emergency squad. As you probably hear in the background, our guys are coming back from a call. Very busy day here in the borough, and serving everyone for their emergency medical services needs.
Beautiful, beautiful. Tony, before we finish, Lisa did say that I was cursing and you were cursing because we brought up the Mets. So we've been had. She just hates us because we're Mets fans.
And our apologies for
that. Tony, it's always a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us today, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the day, and we'll see you in about another week, right?
Sounds good, and have a great show, Kev.
You too, brother. Thank you very much. Well, no, what am I saying? Have a good show to you too. I mean, that was just dumb, but thank you. You know what I meant to say. Thanks, Tony.
Absolutely.
All right, brother. Sir. Talk to you later, brother. That's Tony Mondaro. That is, of course, the man who has for the longest time been the director of the Harrison Weather Center in Harrison. He was joining us from North Arlington today from his desk in North Arlington, the EMT extraordinaire that he is, and some of his colleagues are watching with him today in NA, and we are so grateful to Tony for joining us to talk about the week of weather ahead and for some discussion about the Mets, even though that is not something that I necessarily really enjoy getting into these days. So, now, let's get to the news. Last night, the Kearney Town Council got together. They had a meeting that went into the 9 o'clock hour yesterday, and then from what I understand, they had a closed session meeting that lasted until 1:30, 2 o'clock this morning. So I would imagine that all the participants in that meeting, the members of the council and the mayor, are pretty tired today from long negotiations. I think they had contracts to discuss, but during the regular portion of the meeting, there were several proclamations that were issued and read. And the photo that you see on the screen is Tara Felty. She, of course, is the brother of Tom Felty and the daughter of Tom Felty Sr. Tom Jr. was promoted to Major General in the United States Army recently, and he is, of course, a Kearney boy who I've had the pleasure and honor of meeting several times. And he always keeps Kearney in his heart, and he was back a couple of years ago for the celebration of one of the anniversaries, and he got this promotion recently to, I believe it's a 2-star general now, so he's got a big, big future ahead of him, and he's been a member of the Army for his entire career. But again, Kearney High School guy, was on the crew team, and the proclamation was put through by the mayor and the council this week at the council meeting, and here you see Mayor Carol Jean Doyle with Tara on the screen taking the proclamation for Mayor Doyle. Unfortunately, Tom wasn't able to make it to the meeting because he's in California on duty, so he couldn't make it, but Tara was there indeed to accept the award of the proclamation on behalf of her brother. And Dad Tom was unable to make it too because he was in a rehabilitation facility. But the good news is that Dad Tom was released from hospital this morning. Tara picked him up and brought him home, and they were probably going out for lunch, I think. More than likely, I would guess, from what I know about Tom, maybe they went to the Greeks because that's the usual spot. But we can't say enough great things about General Felty and all the great things that he's accomplished in his career, and just add this one to the list of all of the great things that he's done over the last 20, 30 years that he has been in the United States Army. One of the other proclamations made at the meeting last night was for Muslim Heritage Month. And you can see here there was a large group of Muslim Americans who came to the meeting and who were honored by the mayor and council, including the town's own Shoaib Farazvi, who you can see right to the right of Mayor Doyle here, and a whole bunch of others who came for this proclamation. I believe this is the first time Muslim Heritage Month has ever been marked in the town of Kearney, and it was certainly nice to see that large group of people who attended that meeting last night, indeed in the council chambers, to mark such an occasion. And finally, this is the Thistle United B2007 soccer team. B2007 means they were born in 2007, I'm pretty sure, and that is pretty scary. 2007, these young kids here, but they won championships in 2022 and in 2023. So they have had some great success over the last couple of years. So we congratulate them and Ronnie Kolbinger, who is their coach. Ronnie is in the photo. He's in the back row all the way to the right. And with him is the recreation chairman, that is Councilman Rich Kanopka, and Mayor Carol Jean Doyle in the photo with a good chunk of the members of the team who were honored as well at the meeting. So to Ronnie Kolbinger, to all the coaches, all the players, congratulations on two phenomenal seasons. They, Thistle soccer, what else is there to say? But it's just the gold standard, not just in Kearney, but anywhere in the world, really. So congratulations to each and every member of the team for jobs well done. This week's news, we start off on the opinion page because Councilman George Zapata of the First Ward in Kearney sent a letter in response to a story that I wrote about him being replaced as the clerk to the Hudson County Board of Commissioners. I hope you'll take a chance and read Councilman Zapata's letter. There was just one thing that I thought was a little bit inaccurate about his retort to me, and that is that he said that there have been different things that have changed as to who becomes the clerk to the Board of Commissioners, whereas the reality of the situation is that since the mayoralty of Frank E. Rogers, that position has gone to the mayor of Kearney or that person's designee. But otherwise, take a look at the letter that George wrote. It is pretty strongly worded indeed. Don't necessarily think all of it's accurate, but that's for you to decide, not for me. The Kearney Police Department has hired 7 new police officers. Now, the picture on the screen that you're looking at right now is probably a little too small so you can't see them, but they're all young. They're all kids. They're all in their 20s, and I believe one may be in her 30s. She's already a sworn law enforcement officer. So 6 of the 7 will be going to a police academy, I believe the Bergen County Police Academy. When things get better over there, they have been reinstated as a police academy. But this is an extremely talented class of 7 new police officers, 6 of whom will be trained, one of whom is already out on the streets under the supervision of a field training officer. And you can see how diverse of a group this is. Many of them speak Spanish and or Portuguese. And you know, if you live in this neck of the woods, that if you speak any of the other aforementioned, if you speak Portuguese, you speak Spanish, you are at a distinct advantage as a police officer, because that's the reality of the demographics here in Kearney. So a very diverse class, a very young class, and a very well-educated class. Most of them have college degrees, if not all of them. And they are all well on the road to becoming the next generation of police officers. And from what I understand through Sergeant Mike Antarchuk and Chief George King, is that with these 7 new hires, the Kearney Police Department will be up to par with the number of sworn officers in the entire department. I believe it's 109 and maybe 110, so I don't want to say with absolute certainty, but it's in that ballpark, and that's what the table of organization calls for. And so whenever that happens, that is certainly a good thing, and I'm happy for Chief King that his roster is certainly looking to have been beefed up at where it should be. Now, this is this week's front page. The Four Chaplains Mass is coming up the first Sunday in February. Each year is the remembrance of the four chaplains who were killed on the SS Dorchester 81 years ago, if you can imagine that. Yeah, it was a long time ago. And it used to be called the Father Washington Mass because Father John Washington was one of the four chaplains killed on the ship back in 1943. But the name has sort of evolved to the four chaplains because there were three others, two Protestant ministers and a rabbi who were also killed that day. And of course, their story is an epic story of heroism. The four of them all had life preservers when a torpedo struck the ship, and the four of them took off their life vests and handed them to other members who were on the boat, because over 900 people were on the boat and only 200 and some odd members of the crew survived. And so their story lives on all these years later, and it is an incredible story of four people who laid down their lives for a friend and who gave the ultimate sacrifice in service. And don't forget, when you're a chaplain, you're not considered a sworn member of the military, so they were really what you would, I guess, consider lay citizens, and it's just a remarkable story that lives on all these years later. And the Remembrance Mass will be that Sunday at noon at St. Stephen's. If you've never attended it, there's a lot of pomp and circumstance. The color guards there, the Knights of Columbus greet everybody as they walk in. Bishop Elias Lorenzo will be the principal celebrant, along with Father Joe Mancini, Deacon Earl White, and others who wish to come celebrate the Mass. And everybody's welcome. You don't have to be Catholic to attend the Mass. And I've always enjoyed going to the Father Washington Mass, now the Four Chaplains Liturgy. And if you've got nothing else planned, you should give it a thought, because it really is a very, very moving Mass. It really is. And Father Joe, who has been at St. Stephen's since he was ordained in 2001, has just made a absolute science out of the Four Chaplains Mass, and it's something that everybody in their lifetime should see at least once. So if you're not doing anything, I believe it's the 4th of February. Let me just look at the calendar. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, the 4th of February at noon. Head on over to St. Stephen's and visit the church and attend the Mass. I don't think you'll be disappointed one bit. Now, the main story, the final story this week, is about Nutley's Neighborhood Watch program. And I really think that what Nutley's doing with their Neighborhood Watch program is going to set the standard for other communities to follow. Because what they have done is they have basically reopened it. It was, I don't want to say it was dormant, but it kind of lost its luster over the years. And they're resurrecting this. And when it gets off the ground in the next couple of days, they're going to choose captains in districts. And each of the captains are going to be responsible for reporting crimes that the neighbors report to them, and they will then turn around and bring it to the police department and to their contacts within the Nutley Police Department. But what they're doing is they're going to use social media as a basis for getting the information to the captains and then therefore to the police department. It is no shock to anybody watching this video right now that there are times in certain communities where people are hesitant to bring crimes that they see to the police department for a myriad of reasons. God, there's so many reasons why people are afraid of retribution. They're afraid of people calling them snitches and any which things that happen when people decide that they're going to report crimes. But the most important thing about this program is that everyone is going to be protected, and it will offer an opportunity for Nutley to fight crime. They noticed that things were a little bit out of line. There have been a lot of people who have broken into homes there. There have been cars that have been stolen, catalytic converter thefts, and things of that nature. So Al Petracco, the commissioner, Tom Strumolo, the chief, and Anthony Montanari, the public information officer, had a meeting last week, and it was broadcast on Zoom in addition to about 100 people who showed up. And people are ready to serve. They are ready to be witnesses, unfortunately, when crime happens, and they're going to speak up about it. And so my sense is that this program is going to be one that is modeled by other departments in the coming months as we get closer and closer to the summer months where there's even more crime. So well done by Lieutenant Montanari and Commissioner Petracco and Chief Strumolo for resurrecting this program and identifying that there was a need for this program to come back. And we wish everybody who's involved all the success and safety in the world. Joining us today from North Arlington is Mayor Daniel Pronti, of course, the great mayor of the great borough of North Arlington. Mayor Pronti, good to see you here. We just had Tony on before you joined us, so it's good to see you, Mayor. Happy Tuesday to you as well. And before, believe it or not, we're about to wrap it up. And before we do that, I want to thank Manny Ventoso, who is here, Lisa, who is also here, Mayor Pronti, who is here, and Tony for joining us earlier on. Don't forget, we'll be back 1 week from today, or if any kind of news breaks during the course of the week, we'll join you live then, as we have over the last couple of weeks. And remember what Tony said, it's going to be pretty darn close to 60 degrees on Saturday. So even if it's raining, you're going to have an opportunity to have a really nice day in the great outdoors. From the newsroom of The Observer and TheObserver.com, it's Kevin Canessa signing off for now, and we hope to see you back here again very, very soon. Enjoy the rest of your day, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.